All right, so thanks, guys. I live in Park City, Utah. So I flew in yesterday. We were part of the Salesforce Incubator. So we had our big graduation last night at 123 Mission, which is the floor above the AppExchange team. So I'm flying back home tomorrow, and then I'll be back for Dreamforce in a month. I'll be speaking with the Cake Boss about e-commerce. So I actually started, I'll give you a quick little background on cloud conversion, and then we'll go into all the cool stuff I've learned about Commerce Cloud. But before I do that, does anybody know much about Commerce Cloud other than it was an acquisition? All right, so I'll keep it basic. Let's just see if this works. There we go. All right, so like I said, we're based in Park City, Utah. We're a pretty small company, about 250 customers, really focused on retail e-commerce solutions. We are an ISV OEM partner of Salesforce, but we're also a Commerce Cloud partner. It is a different partner program. So obviously it's the Demandware acquisition. They have their previous partner program. There's things being merged across the two programs, but right now it's still separate. Like I said, they're actually kicking us out of the incubator tomorrow. So everybody's packing up their stuff, and then I think the next group's starting in February. So like I said, we've been really focused on retail e-commerce applications. So we have like a CS tool set for like Amazon and eBay. We typically focus on smaller retailers. So a company doing somewhere between like 10, 20, 30 million a year online. Commerce Cloud usually starts around like 60 million and up. So if you're only doing 20 or 30 million, like Commerce Cloud is not the right solution. But we have a lot of customers now that have grown from 20 million to 80 million, and now they're looking to migrate from a mid-tier to a more enterprise-grade commerce solution. And so we're very focused on marketplaces. I'm sure you guys have heard of like Shopify or Magento. Those are sort of mid-tier, and then as they grow, they sort of upgrade. We've also been doing a lot of supply chain type stuff around Amazon. So most retailers are leveraging Amazon as a marketplace. And so we help a lot of them sort of streamline their business on the Amazon marketplace. We have a lot of different integrations for e-commerce. I didn't change the Demandware one because this was an old slide. But Magento, Shopify, eBay, Amazon, a lot of shipping. Obviously, retail e-commerce, you got to take payments and ship things. And so we've actually integrated all of this with Salesforce. So we can do a lot of optimization around the supply chain and payments and shipping and integration of inventory and orders across all these different channels. So as part of the Salesforce Incubator, we actually built 6 new apps. And we're a big OEM ISV partner. So we get like hundreds of invoices from Salesforce a day. And so we actually built I actually built this invoicing tool like 6 years ago. But as part of the AppExchange, I was talking to all the other companies in the incubator, and I was like, if you're really successful, you're going to get hundreds of emails a day. And they're like, oh, that would be bad. So I actually submitted our Salesforce invoicing app for the AppExchange, and I think we're just going to put it up on the AppExchange for free. So if you're an OEM ISV, take a look, or you can maybe email me and I'll let you know when it's up. But it's already gone through security review, ready to go. But basically it just takes the invoice data we get and parses it out, and then it connects it to the contract and the account and everything. So if you're, or if you're an ISV and you're growing and you want to get 100 invoices a day, then definitely check this out because that helps us automate our business. All right, so Commerce Cloud. So obviously Salesforce bought Demandware about a year and 3 months ago. But before that, Demandware actually had a couple acquisitions. They bought a company called Mainstream Commerce. They bought a company called Tomax, which is in Salt Lake. So the main headquarters is in Burlington, Mass. They have an office in Deerfield Beach, Florida, and then they have a big office in Salt Lake City. If you talk to Salesforce people in San Francisco, most of them don't really know much about Commerce Cloud because it's only a little over a year old. But a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about is kind of core Demandware. So like I said, it's an enterprise commerce platform. $16 billion in online merchandise last year. Lots of websites. It's all internationalized, so it's across. I mean, think of like Adidas. I mean, they're running across probably 30 countries. And so being able to handle multi-currency, multi-language, It is very focused on B2C. So if it's not right now, it's not really a B2B solution. There's other solutions that are more focused on B2B, but they're really focused on moving a lot of traffic and having a lot of customers be able to check out. Obviously, we're going into the holidays, and so a lot of Demandware Commerce Cloud customers are just trying to make sure that they're ready for the number of orders that are going to be happening. I heard the average is about 9,000 to 10,000 orders a day during the holidays. So that's pretty cool. And obviously Gartner and all the big Forrester, they've all rated Commerce Cloud very high up and to the right. And a big part of Commerce Cloud is the foundation. It's a cloud-based system, but it's also highly customizable, which I'm going to get into all the technical, like the stuff you guys care about. But obviously, from a marketing perspective, making sure that they can handle global e-commerce. They've been upgrading a lot of since the acquisition. They've been upgrading a lot of the CDNs, making sure that it is it continues to be an enterprise commerce solution. And so, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome what you can do with it. Get Commerce Leader, all the awards from Gartner and Forrester. So they have something called a business manager. And so it's basically the back end for a retailer to be able to manage the business. So inventory, orders, and I'll give you a demo of the whole business manager piece of it. But they basically give you the ability to totally customize the site, but also merchandise the site. So obviously SEO is really important, making sure customers can find the products they're looking for. And the business manager has a lot of capabilities. Obviously, most big companies aren't going to be logging into the back end to manually do products. So they've obviously built API integrations, or they've built import, export data tools with XML or CSV or whatever they're using. So their technology program is called the Link Technology Program, which is what we're a part of. There's a lot of apps, a lot of enterprise apps, and so I think I heard the average Commerce Cloud customer uses 5 apps from Link Technology partners. So apps around payments, apps around taxes, reviews. So Bazaar Voice is one of their big partners around managing the customer reviews. And so they have a Link Technology marketplace, which I can show you. It's kind of like our App Exchange. And the way you build apps, it's called a cartridge, which I'll get into. And so they obviously have services. They have the digital side. Obviously the stores. They have order management, which is the Main Street acquisition. And then they're also going really heavy with Einstein. But a lot of the Einstein technologies are really around the customer experience. So it's around search, and it's around, if you go to Adidas and you're looking for black shoes, trying to serve up black shoes. And if you search for men's shoes, it doesn't keep showing you women's stuff. And so it's basically learning from things you're searching for, things you're clicking on. It's trying to serve up the things that are most relevant to you. And that's really been the focus of the Einstein technologies. And there's been also some acquisitions like C-Quotient. There's a couple other Einstein type acquisitions when it relates to commerce. And then again, they have a very strong community around commerce related companies. And it's actually a very similar story with Salesforce. They're basically trying to let companies innovate and let them take care of all the heavy lifting when it comes to keep making sure the site doesn't crash when Cyber Monday comes around, and they're taking care of all the security and all of that. So it really allows the companies to innovate and just really focus on driving sales versus trying to keep the sites up and running. And so very similar story to Salesforce. Let us do what we need to do to be successful, and let them sort of take care of the other aspects. So I threw in an Einstein slide because obviously that's really important, but. Basically, they actually have some pretty strong data scientists really trying to optimize the checkout flows and make sure. Obviously, mobile is a huge part of commerce, and a lot of the commerce that's going through is all happening on iPads and iPhones. They have some of the most amazing brands. I mean, if you just look at these logos, these are a lot of these are $billion companies, and so they're relying on Commerce Cloud for their digital. Basically all their digital commerce needs. So Under Armour, obviously, Vineyard Vines is one of the big ones that Salesforce features at Dreamforce and a lot of their commerce events. And they usually do at Dreamforce and Shop.org and Internet Retailer, and there's a lot of different e-commerce shows. they always do like a pop-up type deal where you can like sort of see what the shopping experience looks like. And I think at Dreamforce they're planning like 3 or 4 different like pop-up type experiences for people to sort of see it. And obviously the key to commerce is obviously the average order value. They want to increase the basket size. So when a customer checks out, there's more stuff in the cart, or they're buying more expensive items. And then obviously that leads to increased revenue. And a big part of this, you notice a lot of those logos, they do have brick and mortar stores. And so a big part of the future of Commerce Cloud is the brick and mortar experience. But how does that transition to online, and then vice versa? Think Vineyard Vines, they have 70 stores around the US. So you go into a Vineyard Vines store, and maybe they don't have the size that you want. Hopefully they do. But they can basically, you could buy it online in the store from an iPad, and then it'll be shipped to that store, and you come back 2 days later and you can pick it up right from the store, or vice versa. You find you're shopping. It's midnight and you're shopping for something. You find the perfect item, and it says that it's in the store 5 blocks away. So you can order it and then pick it up in the store, and then hopefully a sales agent will help you buy more stuff. So a big part of it is trying to increase the traffic into the stores so that there's additional upsell opportunities. So again, it's a lot of it's faster innovation. So trying to provide the tools to the retailers so that they can properly merchandise and make sure that the customer experience is what they want it to be. There's a lot of multi-site endless aisle, so making sure there's always inventory that the customers can buy when they're looking to buy it. I'll just sort of go through these here. Commerce insights, predictive sort, product recommendations, so recommending products based on what other products you've looked at. Also, obviously email is a big part of this, so Marketing Cloud. That's really the primary focus right now with sort of integrating the clouds is sort of the Einstein, making sure that when you get an email, the products it's recommending in the emails are relevant to you. And so I think the integration between Marketing Cloud and Commerce Cloud is really the primary focus. And one of the executives on the Commerce Cloud team came from the ExactTarget acquisition. So she's super focused on making sure that Commerce Cloud customers have the most amazing email marketing capabilities when it comes to commerce. There's a lot of different companies, a lot of great success stories, but Icebreakers is one of them. Using Einstein to basically recommend the right products to the right people at the right time, and a lot of it is about timing. So, I kind of mentioned this before, but sort of unifying the entire customer experience across all the channels. And this could be Facebook, right? Obviously Facebook has stores through all the social. There's a lot of social commerce. I think with Twitter you can even buy stuff now. And so making sure that it's the same customer experience regardless of what channel you're looking at. The mobile first, obviously mobile is a huge part of this. So making sure that everything's totally responsive and make it easy for you to build a responsive website so that when you pull it up on your iPad, your phone, it's basically the same look and feel. I'm sure we've all been to sites where you went to the site on your phone and you can't even check out. That's the opposite experience that people are looking to do. Party CD, the seasonal spikes are just absolutely insane. So making sure that the site never goes down when you're trying to take orders from customers. Order management, they do have a very strong order management system. I heard a stat that about 10% of Commerce Cloud customers use the order management tool or system. And it's a lot of shoe companies like Saucony and Asics and companies like that. Obviously that's kind of integrated with customer service, which I'll go into as well. But obviously with the acquisition, they're trying to get it integrated across all the clouds. So I think the next one after Marketing Cloud is going to be Service Cloud. So obviously, if you buy something and then you call and you want to know where it is, being able to sort of track the package and help the customer, say it's going to be delivered tomorrow, or obviously if there's an issue like a refund or a exchange or replacement, being able to handle all of those different sort of customer service things from Service Cloud. There's not a whole lot of Sales Cloud. Sales Cloud's obviously more B2B focused, and Commerce Cloud's more B2C. So it's really Marketing Cloud and Service Cloud are the ones that make a lot of sense. Obviously, like Analytics Cloud, there's a lot of cool insights that you could drive from all the customer data and order data that's in Commerce Cloud. And so, I mean, a big part of it is sort of like, connecting with shoppers. And I mean, obviously, Marketing Cloud has a lot of capabilities to connect with shoppers with a lot of the acquisitions that Salesforce has made in that regard. And then basically the architecture, they have, and I'm going to go into like all the APIs and SDKs and kind of how you develop for Commerce Cloud, and also like how I like to develop for Commerce Cloud. But obviously, similar to Salesforce, I mean, payments is a huge part of this. You can't really be a commerce solution without taking money, and so that's a big part of it. Obviously, sandboxes. If Adidas wants to roll out new functionality, they're not going to do that in production. So they're going to do a lot of testing, make sure that they can handle the load. And they built a lot of really cool toolkits and a lot of standard like development practices, which I'll talk about as well. But obviously, security, reliability, scalability, very similar to all the stuff that Salesforce is working on. So that's that. All right, so let's get into the fun stuff. Did I miss one? I think I might have missed one. So so OCAPI is the Open Commerce APIs, and I have 6 T-shirts here. I've got 3 large and 3 extra large. So if you pay attention for the next like 5 minutes, you might get a cool T-shirt that like this one I'm wearing. So Shop APIs basically give access to the digital storefront functionality, and I'll actually show you the documentation on all of these APIs. And then the data APIs, basically it's all the backend data, so the customer data, the order data. And then there's also brand new meta APIs, so like very similar to our metadata APIs that we have in Salesforce. And so there's object-based things, and there's also sort of resource-based utilities in the APIs. It is a REST API, so it's all JSON, which I'm sure we all love. Definitely no SOAP, which is great. But it's currently version 17.8. I think there's a new version that comes out like every quarter. And they're usually making updates to these APIs. But so a lot of the developer technologies that people have access to, I basically broke it out into toolkits, SDKs, pipelets, and APIs. There is an Eclipse UX Studio where you can actually write code, and the code's very similar to Java. And then you can actually package it up. They call it a cartridge. So you can basically write Java code basically, and leverage they have different toolkits, and they call them scripts and pipelets. So you can basically like sort of include one of their scripts, and then you can sort of extend it. And they have like order hooks, and so like as an order is going in, as an order is coming out, you can do things to manipulate the orders. Obviously, if Adidas is going to install your cartridge, like they're going to obviously want to make sure you are providing value to them. But also they're going to test it in one of their sandbox orgs and make sure that it does what it's supposed to do, and it doesn't cause any issues with their checkout or any problems with their website. But what I'm going to focus on today, since we're all Salesforce developers and we probably don't want to learn all the ins and outs of like developing front end additions to Commerce Cloud, I'm going to really focus on the Open Commerce APIs, which is what I do. But just so before we get into that, so there's basically something called realms. And so obviously if the site's across 40 different countries, you basically can have a realm, and then each realm can have multiple sites. There's a lot of companies that have, so think about like one way, like Jarden Consumer Services, which is like Mr. Coffee, Crock-Pot, Food Saver, and like 30 other brands. They have multi-realm, which looks like this. So they basically would have realm 1, realm 2 for each one of their brands. And the cool thing about this is you can have different teams working on those sites, and then they have the permissions so that you might have a team that manages these five sites of the 30. But that way they can only, you might have a team that focuses on one brand versus multiple brands. And then obviously you have different sandbox. So if you go back here, you can have up to 47 sandboxes. And then there's a lot of sort of staging, production. So a lot of the standard stuff that we do with Salesforce with sandboxes. And then there's not really a lot of deployment. You can't deploy changes between production and sandbox. A lot of it's like cartridge based. So you would sort of take the cartridge, configure it, install it in the sandbox, and then as you roll it out to production, you would sort of do the same type of configuration and installation. So that's kind of how the architecture works. So something didn't get saved here. So you have to look really closely at the little Einstein flying the airplane. So the resources, there's something called Exchange, which is kind of the documentation area. They actually have a Slack channel So if you're a partner, you get access to Slack, and you can actually, a lot of the product managers are on Slack, and you can collaborate with them. A lot of customers are also on Slack, and so as people have issues, they'll be posting there, and it's all broken out by channel. So like there's an OCAPI, like Open Commerce API channel. There's like an endless aisle channel. There's a like customer service toolkit channel. And so if you can sort of subscribe to the channels you want to do. And then they also have documentation, which I'll show you as well. Obviously, authentication is a kind of a key piece of an API. They have two different types. They have a JWT, which kind of allows you to log in as a consumer, or a guest, which is what I'll show you as part of my demo. And then they also have OAuth 2. And so there's two different types of OAuth 2. You can either do a business manager login, or you can do a client credential login. And depending on sort of what resources you're trying to get access to, that's how you would decide to do that. And they actually have permission-based, similar to Salesforce, but you actually have to like basically have this JSON string of what resources you're going to give access to on the API. And if you don't have those permissions, basically your API calls are going to fail. And it's basically CRUD. I mean, it's the field level security. You know, I have the ability to read. I've got the ability to write. And then you can actually say which fields you have the ability to read and write to. So they've really thought through a lot of the security, but just standard, sort of grant type, OAuth type stuff with a bearer token that you can store, and it lasts for a certain period of time. And then there's a sort of a refresh token that you can as well. All right, so I'm gonna jump into demos because I'm sure that's why you all came, hopefully. So actually, before I jump into the demo, what I'm gonna do is I wanna show you I'll show you really quick. So this is basically what a script looks like. And so for all the Java developers in the room, this is WorldPay, which is it's a payment gateway. And so there's basically variables. You can have different strings, all the standard like ifs. You can have for loops, all this kind of stuff. And then it's basically you can have pipelets and redirects. And so basically people design, and there's SIs that will actually, like, companies will just hire a consulting firm to build them a cartridge and like take their APIs and do all the stuff that needs to be done. It obviously has to go through a certification process before you can list it on their App Exchange, just like we have with App Exchange. I'm not a script or pipelet guy. I'm an API guy. So I'll show you that. But before I do this, okay. So here's the documentation for Commerce Cloud. So I'm just going to drill into the Open Commerce APIs. And so you've got the shop API. So they've got basket resources, categories, content. They do support custom objects, and so you can build your own custom objects in it. It's got order resources, a lot of price, product, promotion, all the P's of commerce. They also have data APIs, and so there's campaigns, catalogs, coupons, gift certificates. I mean, pretty standard stuff. There's like variant searches. There's all these different like resources. And then there's also like search APIs. So this is kind of all the stuff that we've integrated into Apex. And as part of the Incubator, we actually built an Apex toolkit for Commerce Cloud. One of the things we're planning on doing, it's still in security review, but my goal is to basically, like, doing all of this, like understanding all the ins and outs of this is actually not easy. So what we're actually hoping to do is basically provide like global Apex classes, so that you could basically just like say you wanted to do one thing around products, you could just install like a global, like a managed package with global classes, and then basically with like 10 lines of code, we handle all the sort of the heavy lifting, and then you could literally update a product or update customers or create orders or create baskets or pull campaigns in, and so there's obviously so many like cool apps on the App Exchange, but most people don't have the time to like really learn all the ins and outs of Commerce Cloud to do all of this. So that's kind of our plans. And right now we're going to use that toolkit ourselves and make sure it works really well. And then in the future, maybe we'll open it up to other people. The other thing I wanted to show you, so this is what the business manager looks like, and I'll zoom in. And so there's merchant tools, and so you can see there's a lot of things you can do inside Business Manager. Search, there's products, product sets, catalogs, price books, inventory lists, all the ordering, like taxation. Obviously taxes are a big part of this, but like A/B testing, traffic, abandoned carts, order churn trends. And then there's also online marketing. Obviously, most customers do a lot of AdWords, and so tracking the campaign and understanding where the traffic's coming from and what traffic's converting. Most Commerce Cloud customers would be using like Adobe Site Genesis, which is the Omniture acquisition, to really do like test and target and really understand the analytics behind the site. But there's a little bit of that functionality here. You'll also see there's a lot of site preferences here, like store URLs, storefront toolkits, and then there's also administration. So what I wanted to show you here actually is under, and actually by the way, so I just have one site, but if I had like access to 30 sites, they would just show up in a drop down here, and then so you can sort of decide which sites you're working on, and then you can replicate sites, and this is just a sandbox org here. But if you look at operations. There's a lot of different things you can do around, there's different jobs. Here's the predictive intelligent piece of it. And you can obviously go, my storefront, I haven't really focused on this, so it doesn't look great. But obviously most sites look really good. So, you can search for like test. And we're actually creating products from Salesforce. So this product was actually created from Salesforce. And then I can actually update quantity, images. We're pulling all the orders from Commerce Cloud into Salesforce. We're creating customers, so if a customer were to email, we can actually create that customer from Salesforce back into Commerce Cloud. So that's pretty cool. And I'll show you a demo of order creation and then order pulls. And then where I wanted to get into was here, the Open Commerce API settings. And so if you look here, so you can basically define the shop and the data type. And then you can have the context. So you can say these settings are specific to one site or they're specific to a global context. And then basically you have a client ID, which you specify, you got different response headers, and you define the resources it has access to. So the site, I can do a get on the site, and you've got read attributes. And for us, we just set it all to read and write everything we can. And then you got the cache time and then what version ranges you have access to. But here's customer authentication, order search, getting orders, and then on the data APIs, there's product search. This is all the actual cart type stuff, inventory lists. So I obviously, if you guys have never seen this before, it's probably looks kind of crazy, but there's a little bit of learning curve, but once you get it, it's not that hard. This is what the link marketplace looks like. And so there's a lot of consulting firms. So they've got technology and services. So a lot of SIs post on here. But if you go to technology, there's 500 friends, address, a lot of payment type gateways. You got Amazon Pay. We haven't listed on here. We're super focused on the App Exchange side of things. But that's that. All right, so let me show you sort of what we've done so far. So we basically, we just built a custom object called Commerce Cloud Settings. And we basically just have the instance URL, so it's connected to the instance I was just showing you. The client ID, the system will generate it, but all sandbox is all just 18 A's. But obviously in production is not 18 A's. And then you can define the default site. So for us, you would actually have, for each site, you would have multiple Commerce Cloud settings. And then I also set a default account. A lot of it's B2C. And so what we do right now is, say I had 30 sites, all the consumers, because there's really no account, there's no company, all the consumers for that would be under that account. Obviously with Salesforce, if you had 10 million customers in Salesforce under one account, you're going to have data skew issues. And so I haven't really, I'm not worried about that problem yet. But obviously before this were to go to production, and we'll see if security review actually picks that up. I doubt it. So let me just show you some code here. So I'm just an old school Eclipse guy. And so I've got a couple little examples. Can people see that, or is that too small? I can't really zoom in. So I've got three things. I've got a search orders, and so I can actually just search orders with my email address. And I'll use JSON lint to show you the. So basically, I just did an OAuth I did a client OAuth, so I got a bearer token. And then here's the response that came back. So I'll just copy this for you guys. So it basically came back with 3 orders under my name. And then we basically built parsers to parse out all the data, but it comes with taxes, shipping address information, the channel. So this order was actually done with the customer service center, which customer service center, this is part of the demo. So you can actually, I just iframe CSC in here. And that's actually Salesforce's strategy so far with integration is just put an iframe in. But it's actually funny because of there's an origin header in Commerce Cloud. If you try to iframe Commerce Cloud into Salesforce, nothing's going to work because there's headers that prevent it. But there's actually a really cool Chrome extension that will rip the headers out. And so all you have to do is install that Chrome extension, and then you can iframe anything you want. So we iframe like Amazon all the time, even though they don't really like it. But that's my strategy. But basically, I can create a new order. So I'll just come in here. I'll just add my test product. So we'll just order 2 of these, add to cart. And we'll close that. And so this is actually, like if you were to call Adidas and want to place an order over the phone, this is what they would be using to create the order on your behalf. We can select shipping, so I'll just give myself free shipping. I can select my customer record, so I'll just say John. That's my personal set address. And so $216, submit the order. So you can see 79 available, and that quantity is actually being set by Salesforce, which I think is pretty cool. I'll just say I'm doing terms, and I'll save that. All right, so I just created order 0000601, and just to show you that this is real and I'm not pulling the wool over your eyes, I will go here, and I will search for 601. No matches. We have a scheduled Apex job that pulls orders in every 10 minutes, but just to show you this without waiting for that to run in 7 minutes. I'll just enter that order number, execute anonymous, pulls that order in, and now I do a search. Oh, come on. Let's see what happened. It came back with the right order.
Salesforce search index probably hasn't updated yet.
You're probably right. It said upstart was successful. There we go. By the way, so I'm using the standard order object for this for now. Just with security review, I didn't want to deal with like all the crazy stuff we do. So I wanted to keep it simple to start with. And so this is the external ID of the order. You can see here's my quantity 2. And so pulling the order in, it actually mapped to obviously that account that I had. And then I can also create orders. I'll just do it for now. So if I go back to the CSC here, and I just do find order, and so you can see here's all the orders here. So 601 is the last one, and then I'm just going to create a basket. And right now I've just got some stuff hard coded for my demo. So I just created an order from Salesforce into Commerce Cloud. So think about like a customer service rep. So now I just created 602. And so it basically set the shipping, it set the quantity, the price, the tax, all this order data. You got the order statuses. So basically the ability to pull orders from Salesforce, but also push orders back from Salesforce back into Commerce Cloud, I think is pretty cool. And so I think there's a lot of power here, because obviously I think there's about 450 like very large retailers that use Commerce Cloud. And there's not, right now, I don't think there's a ton of overlap. If they do use it, it's probably just for their B2B sales team. But obviously that's going to change over time. But I think there's very few developers that really understand both ecosystems. And so I think that's where we might be able to help out. Obviously, like if I were to come in and add a note to this, that note will come back into Salesforce. I can also add notes from Salesforce back into Commerce Cloud. The one challenge with this, though, is most of these companies are running like Oracle or SAP for the back end. So basically, like this order is going to get exported, and then they're going to ship it, and then the tracking is going to come back in here, and then we can pull that tracking back. But typically, when there's 10,000 orders a day, that's usually on a batch, and so it's probably like in the middle of the night, like all those orders get updated. It's not like real time that we're expecting with like if you order one on Amazon, you get an email within like an hour that it's shipped. That's not really the case with this. And so I think that's probably another opportunity is can you make it more real time where obviously we expect 2-day shipping and we expect it to be free and our expectations are pretty awesome, right? But there's a lot of capabilities and I think there's a lot of opportunity. So that's pretty much my demo. Any questions? Yeah.
How are you parsing that JSON response? Do you have like the Apex class, which you deserialize to, or are you doing more like the deserialize untyped?
I do deserialize untyped because I've had too many issues with like the types being added and then stuff breaking with the other ways of doing it, and also too like that request is so big. And I probably care about half the data that's in there, and so for us just to focus on the core data we actually care about, that's kind of how we do it. And then also when we push data back, I honestly just like to build the JSON string by hand because it's easier for me to like read it, and then also we can like sort of control how things are being sent. For us it makes debugging a lot easier. So I think we're really good at like parsing and creating JSON.
Are you able to do any common classes or patterns to do that deserialize untyped for all the different responses?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I mean, because like all the responses look similar, and so it's just like the little pieces of it change. So yeah, we are.
It's a lot more fun to deal with the JSON APIs and JavaScript than it is Apex.
Yeah, sure.
A lot of code to deal with it.
Yeah, definitely. So, but yeah, I think there's a lot of cool opportunities. I mean, you can imagine like price books being integrated, and I think as Salesforce makes more progress on B2B, I think that's probably going to open up a lot of more opportunities as well. So, any other questions? No? Yeah.
How was your experience in the incubator, and what were the outcomes from your time there?
Do you want a large or extra large?
Take a large.
So if you ask a question, you get a T-shirt, I guess. There you go, large. So the incubator was really cool. It was totally different than I expected. I thought it was going to be more technical because it was an AI incubator, and we did work really closely with the Einstein team. But I'm a developer, but it was really more focused on the business side of things. A lot of the companies in the incubator were new to the Salesforce ecosystem, and so I think there were only like 3 that had actually ever done anything with Salesforce in the past. And so us veterans kind of helped the newbies learn all the ins and outs of the crazy Salesforce world. It was great. I mean, like yesterday, like I had a 30-minute meeting with Jason Lemkin, which I mean, it's really hard to get a 30-minute meeting with Jason. They brought in a lot of product managers. I think the challenge was a lot of if somebody's new to this, like they bring a product manager in that knows a little bit about their product, and they can help somebody that's new, but like I know more about their product than they know. And so like for me to spend 30 minutes with a product manager doesn't really help me at all, but it definitely helps somebody that had never seen the App Exchange before. But I think, so we had our graduation last night, and I think we had a total of like 9 apps on the App Exchange. I wrote 6 of them. There was 3 new apps, I think. Or no, I know, maybe there was 7 that weren't ours. So yeah, I think it was pretty good. Yeah, but and I think there's still some that are coming. Like the security review, obviously, if you've never done it before, it's a challenge.
So is the incubator space still over like where the Heroku?
No, so we started in the Heroku building on 7th, and then we moved in July to just next door at 123 Mission. So we're literally just next door, on the 23rd floor. It's a cool little space, got nice views, and yeah, it's cool. So the next batch has already been picked and starts next like February, I think, and it's focused on healthcare, financial services, and retail. So I'm hoping to help with all the new retail startups coming in to help them build something that actually matters. So yeah. All right, who else wants a shirt?
I want to clarify
Yes.
the not being real-time integration with backend.
Yeah.
Is that more an integration issue?
So it's not an integration issue. It's just more of a resource thing. So for us, I mean, you could do it more often. Like you could schedule it every. I mean, you wouldn't do it every minute, but I mean, you get 100 scheduled batch Apex, and a lot of companies use a lot of them for other like different apps. So for us, like doing it every 10 minutes, that means we only need to use 6 Apex jobs. So obviously, if you did it every 5 minutes, you would need 12 jobs. But the probably the right way to do this actually would be to build a cartridge so that when the order happened, it basically would make an API call to Salesforce. And then, because obviously, like if you went to Adidas and you checked out and you're like, oh, I put the wrong address in, and you call and you got the CTI adapter and the phone rings, and the rep's like, I don't know who you are. Like, I mean, that's the whole point of Salesforce, right? And then 5 minutes later, he's like, oh, there's the order. So probably the right way to do it from a customer service perspective is actually to build a cartridge and it may not actually have to do the entire order sync, but maybe it's just a ping to say, hey, here's 10 new orders, grab them right now, right? Because obviously if it's the holidays and there's 20 orders a second. Yeah. So
Yeah, because you, as a user, as a customer, you get a notification right away with an order number.
No, you don't want that.
No, usually that's what happens.
Oh, the customer does. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
When you go online and you buy more stuff,
Yeah.
immediately you get a notification.
Yeah. Well, and most of those emails would be sent through like Marketing Cloud, so that you get the order confirmation with product recommendations to buy more stuff. And obviously, like if you go sign up for like a cheap e-commerce website, they're going to send you a confirmation saying, "Hey, you got an order." But when you have 10,000 orders a day, you don't want emails from anybody telling you that you got that. But yeah, I mean, I think that, and maybe that's the next thing that we could do is, build a cartridge that maybe just has a ping that says, "Hey, here's a bunch of new orders." And obviously, if order updates too, like, and you got to think about scale. I mean, like say we ship 10,000 orders, and Oracle updated 10,000 tracking numbers. I'm pretty sure that when I make an API call, and it does support pagination, and so we can basically say, here's the first 100, 200, 300, 400. But obviously, with that amount of data, there's probably better ways to do it. So for us, I mean, we're obviously want to tackle the simple things first, and then we can get into the hard things later. So that's a great question. Any other questions? Yep.
Kind of curious. I mean, clearly for startup companies that come to the incubator, there are a lot of benefits of course, name recognition and
Yep.
funding and all that benefit. What does Salesforce get out of it? I mean, do they have access to technology? Is there any legal commitment obligation, or is it purely, if they like what you do, they might make you an offer?
So one, all the people in the incubator are super smart. And so they had an opportunity to work with us for 5 months. So I think that was a huge benefit, and they got to use us as sounding boards. We have access to like Einstein Builder, which is their new programmatic machine learning tools. And so we're sort of playing around with those and telling them what's working well and what's not working well. So that's a big part of that. There's no financial, we didn't pay anything. They didn't. They're not giving us money. And so they definitely gave us a lot of resources. There's a lot of cool companies doing cool things, and there's the one in Health Cloud. There's a couple doing some really cool stuff with Einstein Analytics. The company that won the graduation last night is a bunch of really smart MIT, DARPA, machine learning, AI experts. And so they're doing a lot of really cool stuff that I think Salesforce can learn from. I mean, I think there's no like intrinsic like value like right now, but I think over time, like things will happen.
Like you meant, I mean, the guys who won last night, you said Salesforce could learn from them. I mean, if that's proprietary technology to their company, Salesforce may not have access to it. Or is that something that by virtue of being part of the Incubator, Salesforce would have access to?
There's no IP exchange, like it's their technology.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a $50 million AI fund, I wouldn't be surprised if some of that money goes to that company because they're doing a lot of really cool stuff that has the ability to help Salesforce customers.
Yeah.
So.
Salesforce sort of has early access to these
Yeah.
companies with fresh ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Cool. Yep.
So I was talking to a startup, they're looking on the healthcare side, but particularly for dental offices.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just curious, that is a remotely a use case for using Commerce Cloud.
No.
Because they're not really, I think there's the consumer side
Yep.
component of it, but there's not really like order.
Yeah, it would not be a good use case. There's a lot of
So
other.
they're actually looking at potentially using Salesforce, but debating if Salesforce is really the right solution.
Well, Salesforce could be, but not Commerce Cloud, right? And they could certainly use Salesforce to do certain things, and there are some commerce apps for Salesforce. But my typical, there's so many like inexpensive, and there's actually even focused on particular like health and obviously subscription's a big part of like vitamins and things like that. And so, but there's a lot of very inexpensive commerce solutions out there. I think the pricing, I don't know if it's official, but like I've heard it's somewhere between 3 and 4% of the transaction. So basically, if you buy a $100 pair of shoes, like they're paying somewhere between $3 and $4 to use Commerce Cloud. I think that's like kind of the rough numbers that I've heard. I don't think it's like official, yeah. So obviously, you have to be doing like more than like $60 million to make it worthwhile. But there's tons of different apps out there that that can sort of plug into Salesforce and do the things that they would probably need. All right, I got 2 more shirts.
More question about your experience. So,
Yeah.
like, you obviously have a lot of Salesforce experience, and you know a lot about Commerce Cloud. When did you first sort of hear about Commerce Cloud? Was it before the acquisition or after it?
Yep. So I actually submitted our Commerce Cloud app for security review in 2013. And we finally submitted it for security review about a month ago. So the one of the big differences between, so that was obviously Demandware, and like the guys that I was talking to are now like executives at Salesforce now. So I definitely had the vision of what it could be. One of the big differences is if you want to be a Shopify partner, you can just go to partners.shopify and sign up for free. With Commerce Cloud, you actually have to there's only like 250 partners. So you actually have to be serious about doing it. And so like the barrier of entry is about $5,000 a year. And so most developers aren't going to just drop down $5,000 to like get access to documentation and build an app. And so that was our barrier of entry in 2013. I went to the Demandware guys. I'm like, hey, let's build this awesome like integration with Salesforce. And back then I was looking, the API version was 13, and now it's 27 or 17.8. So there's been a lot of iterations. Like the basket API was just released. So like you couldn't even create an order like when we first started talking to Salesforce about or Demandware about this. But the Incubator was like a kind of a kick in the butt for us. Like they're like, so you submitted this for security review in 2013, and then like what happened? I was like, oh, like I don't know, I couldn't justify spending $5,000 to be a partner. And they're like, that's so cheap. Like you get one customer and you pay for that. And they're like, I'm like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, so that's that. But and obviously with Salesforce owning it now, like I think there's going to be a lot more opportunity. Whereas before, I don't think there was. It wasn't a huge opportunity back then. And I think also like it's come a long way. So like there's all the stuff we want to do, we can do now. So, all right, I got one more shirt. What's that?
Are you going to be sharing these slides?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Do you want a shirt? No? One more shirt?
I have a question, but I give this shirt.
Okay.
could you elaborate when you say, this opportunity? Are you elaborating and saying, if you wanted to learn the product, want to learn how to get involved with supporting implementations of the product, you could learn the product because there's a need out there for customers who are implementing this and they need people to wire it up and look it up. How do you learn it? I know that there is a course, I think it's called Dev 101. I don't know if it's taught in the States, I know it's taught overseas. Is that how people typically step into the product and you do the training?
So there actually is, there's a trailhead on Commerce Cloud, which is very, very basic, and you learned a lot more tonight than you would by doing that trailhead. But all the training around like Commerce Cloud is more focused on building websites. They don't really go into, and maybe building cartridges. So, I mean, the people that really know Commerce Cloud well are going to be the consulting firms. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that I just like to get my hands dirty, and so I'll just hack on this for a few weeks and like know how it all works. But there's a lot of documentation. The Slack channel has a lot of if you have questions, you can sort of post on there. But it is, I mean, it's not easy to just like, you can't just go sign up and like get access to all this. So that's the kind of the challenge.
That was the 5K thing in the PE series.
Yeah, that's kind of the challenge. And I have a feeling that'll probably change. I don't know when it's going to change, but I have a feeling it will. Yeah.
So if a company wants to buy into the product and they have an IT team, they can get their people hooked in.
Yep. Absolutely. And if there's anybody here that's like saw this and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing, like come find me and like I'll help you get access to some of this and like help me. I'd love to have somebody partner to. I mean, I think this is a huge opportunity. Like I bet you we can make millions of dollars by doing this. And so if somebody wants to like help, like so let me know. Cool. One more. Who was the last T-shirt?
I'll take it.
All right. Thanks, guys.